There is money in the ability to communicate to our own people. There's an even bigger market, obviously, but there's huge amount of money in just communicating to our own culture. And that's what hip hop is.
For sure.
You know, that's what our end of this fashion game is. Even the stuff we were doing back then, it may have been not great. It may have not been perfect. It may have been a little quirky, jerky looking. There was something about it that spoke to
our community,
us.
Yeah.
And that's why I give it to FUBU with the For Us By Us, because that was, all of us were FUBU.
Yeah.
Shout out to Damon John, Shark Tank. All of us were FUBU. Mecca, Aniche, RP55, Cross Colors, all of us, Fat Farm, shout out to Russell, were all FUBU, For Us By Us. And then it became, you know, it's America, business. Next thing you know, everybody had a black dude standing in front of their booth at the show.
Our parents give us love, affection, and projection. The vision of who we're destined to be, free. The price we pay is the pain we endure. Never in vain, though. For our passion, it's our fuel. School of hard knocks. Distance learning our pension. Earning every shift, our gifts make room for us, by us. Playing our position, keeping the dream in motion. Promotion comes from he who stands in the gap, real rap. Everything we envision needs provision and protection. This is for the resurrection of a people till we equal. Correction, we're already beyond it. Obstacles unimaginable, look how we responded. Potential unfathomable, yet we find ignorance appealing. Ceiling, self-imposed. Till we stop feeling and acting worthless on the mother shows, truth be told is about purpose. This is how the story goes.
So we're here for another episode of Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Thomas Calhoun, aka Calhoun Speaks, and I'm here today with Ralph Reynolds, the man himself.
Thomas, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ralph. So today we just want to really get into the history. I know a lot of people may not really know who you are, but they know of your brand and they know the brands that you represent. And so today is a really great opportunity to expose people to not only the brands you represent, but your story and how you got to where you are today. And I really think it's special because there's life after the brand itself, right? The brand that you create. And there's a bigger business than just the brand. And so I want to make sure people understand the holistic vision of fashion and what it takes to be in that business. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being even willing to even share your story with us. So just to get us warmed up, what did the RP and RP55 stand for?
Oh, okay.
Everybody wants to know that.
Well, that's a kind of interesting story. Excuse my cough drop.
It's all
I don't
good.
want to cough a lot
It's
on
all
camera.
good. It's all good.
The RP and RP55 originally stood for my original partner's name, which was Ron Perry, born in 55 from Washington, D.C.
So Ron Perry's from Washington, D.C.
He's from Washington, D.C.
And you're from Harlem, so how'd you meet him?
In the store Deuce that I was talking about on Granby Street.
Okay.
I was running the store and he happened to walk in one day. Anyway, so the RP took off.
Gotcha.
We became partners. We worked at Afram Fest. We became
wow.
partners. And he saw how I got down. I saw how he got down that weekend.
Right.
And at the end of that weekend, we were new to each other. But at the end of that weekend, we said, yo, we should be partners.
Wow.
And so at first we had a company called Big's World, which stood for Born in the Ghetto Story. We did all kind of stuff, all kind of shirts and everything.
Was that like a fashion brand or was it a store?
T-shirts.
Just pure T-shirts?
T-shirts. There's a lot of potential in the T-shirt industry. It's the easiest way to get into fashion. Is to print blank T-shirts. You can buy blanks, you can find somewhere to get them printed, and you can sell them. And if they sell, you're in business.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so we had RP55, which was Ron Perry, born in 1955. Then we had Mines, which was R. Mark.
Okay.
Right, because my name is Ralph Mark Gilbert Reynolds.
Okay.
RP55 took off like a rocket. R-Mark, whatever. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even a point of, it never got to the point of trying to force R-Mark to happen. When RP55 took off, we forgot about R-Mark completely. And concentrate on RP55.
And what about the Bigs? You left that too?
Well, Biggs World, we were working as our kind of meat and potatoes because we could do anything. And we would go to DC every weekend.
Okay.
And to Baltimore and to Richmond, excuse me. And we would sell, started out at $2,000-$3,000, and then it ended up where we would sell between $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 every weekend.
Wow.
And at that
over
time,
a weekend?
Just from Friday to Sunday.
This is RP55.
Biggs World.
Okay.
Because at that time there was like a T-shirt war going on in DC.
And what year is this? Give us a time frame.
94.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Literally anywhere that they could string a line, people were selling T-shirts. He told me this, and I was like, I got to see this to believe it. And he was right. There was street vendors everywhere. There was people, if they had a corner. He had a wall inside of a video store that the guy rented him this wall. I mean, and our job immediately for me was, well, we're going to service all of them. And we would go, get there 8 in the morning, have breakfast, and then start hitting them. Wow. And we ended up with our kind of route. We got to hit so-and-so, we got to hit so-and-so. Every now and then we might even have one that we even had credit, or we gave a certain amount to, and we would get paid that week or whatever. Let's say they had a problem or something happened. And that put us in business, and this is Biggs World. So then when we did RP55, which was for us, even though it was still just T-shirts, was a brand.
Right.
We did not sell any of the vendors. We only sold stores.
Gotcha.
So that made a little rift between us and the vendors because we wouldn't sell them RP55.
Right.
And then the stores that we wouldn't sell Biggs World to kind of they sort of hustle. They sort of hustle. And RP55, for whatever the reason was, it caught. No one knew what it meant. We used to get asked that all the time. What does it mean? You know,
they got the exclusive here, yes.
Yeah, and then we did, and at the time I was a pretty good artist. And
so you're a graphic design artist yourself? Correct?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not computer literate in that way.
Gotcha.
At that time, I was doing everything by hand.
Really?
Yeah, I was doing all of the artwork and cutting screens and everything by hand. And immediately, I went and hired, as soon as we could, different artists that were better than me, and especially with computer skills. But then I was always usually directing the art.
Gotcha.
I want this like this, we want that like that.
Are there any particular places in DC, like U Street, or like any places that were proper Georgetown?
I'm not from DC, but yeah, we used to go to Georgetown. We used to go to F Street.
Okay.
We used to go up. I ain't been to DC in a long time, and I hate DC. It's a very confusing place. We used to go to F Street. We used to go to Shrimp Boat, this spot called Shrimp Boat, which was a restaurant. And they used to have a T-shirt guy all the way around the outside of the restaurant. It was quite a few spots. Anyway, to get back to the RP55 took off so hard, and we were starting to hit the point. I think we were actually just 2 weeks into our deal with my partners, our new partners. And I said to Ron, we got to have a conversation because I'm not cool with it being Ron Perry. It was a difficult conversation. But me and him had hustled this thing. It's quite a story. I had a guy that let us use his screen print shop at night.
Wow.
I went to this guy, white guy. Didn't know him that well, wasn't that friendly with him. I said, I got an idea. I want to use your screen print shop at night. while you're home, and we'll do all of the labor ourselves, and then we'll pay you per shirt. And he said, okay. So me and Ron would be in there 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning printing. And then we would tell him how many shirts we printed and pay him. It was never, I don't think he ever questioned us once, you know, to count the shirts, you know. It was 100% on an honor basis and on the strength, and we were not close friends. But that guy
set you up.
Oh yeah, we tried to, once we started to take off, I tried to feed his business, but he couldn't handle it. It took off too quickly, too hard. And he didn't want that huge type business. He was one of those guys that, you know, I have my business, I like the size it is, and I'm cool.
I'm comfortable.
And I want to go home and watch Jeopardy.
Yeah.
He was that kind of guy.
Exactly.
Anyway, me and Ron had this conversation, and I said, I want to change the RP to mean Reynolds and Perry. And
how did that go?
It was a little, you know, but we were so close. We were so close.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I'm just telling you, this ain't gonna end up a problem. I see it gonna be a problem a year from now. And you say you ain't on that, I'm saying I'm not on that. It is both of us.
Yeah.
And it happens to be R and P.
Yeah.
Cause he was, what if it was Ron Freddie? Then we couldn't have a conversation.
Right.
But it happens to be RP.
Yeah.
So it officially became Reynolds and Perry.
Gotcha.
After that.
So let's back up a little bit. Like, I know you grew up in Harlem. Talk about like that whole like experience, because you would have been around the time when like hip hop was just taking off.
I was.
And the whole all this urban fashion stuff probably hadn't gotten started yet, except for it would have been who was the guy in Harlem that did all the Gucci suits? Dapper Dan. So like, how did you ever have any aspirations of working with him? Did you know you were going to get into fashion? Like, talk about that experience growing up in Harlem at that time.
No, I didn't know it, but it was a big deal. There was a huge amount of pressure on everything you wore. I mean,
in Harlem.
Yeah. Puffy's Puffy and got Sean John and all of that up the way he did, because he's from Harlem. There was a huge, I mean, you had to have on the right sneakers, the right pants, the right shirt, the right hat, and if it wasn't right, you was gonna get joked.
Wow.
And either you could learn to handle them jokes or you figured out how to get it right, you know? And at that time, Harlem, in my opinion, was the king of New York with that.
Gotcha.
And then a lot of the other boroughs were watching Harlem, but they didn't know where to get the real thing. So they would go down to these other areas, Delancey Street, what they used to call Jewtown or whatever.
Wow.
And they would go down there, and they would quite often get copies of what the real was.
I remember Dana Dane had a song called Delancey Street.
Yeah, D Street.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And it was an incredible amount of pressure.
Yeah, what made you want to be in fashion?
So you fast forward a few years from me just growing up in Harlem, and I actually come from Dyckman, which is above Harlem. But I lived in Harlem, and my mother had a store in Harlem. And my father...
Clothing store?
No. My mother was the second person in the United States to do sculptured nails.
Oh, wow.
And I was a pedicurist in there as a kid. Only did girls, women, which was cool.
Wow.
But it was also me seeing, you know.
Business.
Yeah, it was like, it was an empty store, and she was trying to find the right formula. I don't know where the idea came from. We had these twins, Mary and Martha. Shout out Mary and Martha if y'all ever see this.
Yeah.
And they worked at Pathmark, which was a supermarket.
Okay.
And we would put nails on those twins every day. They were fine too. Young, fine girls, tall, slim. And we would put nails on them every day, and they would come back without the nails every day. They would pop them off, pop them off, pop them off. And then one day they came back with all the nails. And it was like, we got it. And then we went to open the store, which I was it was never like some big deal. My father had died. About 2 years later is when he opened the store. It was never like we ever assumed that this was some hard thing to do. This is it. This is what we're going to do. Now let's go do it. That's how my mother was.
Okay.
You know, so it was like, okay. And we're in the projects.
Right.
Like, okay, we're going to open a store. This is what we're going to do. Now let's find a store and let's go. And it was packed. It was really, really a big deal in Harlem, to tell you the truth, because we had people
so
coming.
What year?
From
Give me a year, because I'm trying to think.
70. 70. I'm 58 years old. It's 70.
Wow, I had no idea that
73.
That whole business, went back that far.
What, the nails?
The nail salons.
Oh yeah, there was no nail salons. Everyone used to use Lee press-on nails back then. These girls would buy nails and glue them on. Right. The whole idea of sculpting the nails the way women do now didn't exist at all. And she found the right formula of stuff, the correct material. And then I used to have to go downtown, buy the materials, pull the labels off of everything, bring it back up to the store. It was interesting,
This is interesting because projecting forward, you learn how to run a business even though you weren't really
officially learning.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like you were in school.
Well, my mother was like that, and my brother, who tried to my brother's like 13 years older than me, so he tried to kind of take over for my father a little bit somehow, as much as I would let him. I listened to him a lot with some of the things he talked about, and he was very, very positive, very, very motivated. And my mother was the same. And it was never, hey, I'm coming to teach you how to do so-and-so. It was just, go downtown, go to this place, go get this, go get that, here's the check. Before you come home, take the label, and I was like 12.
Yeah. Take
the labels off, but New York is like that. New York is very much like that.
You learn fast.
You go to the so-and-so district and get this, that, and the other thing, and you learn that even growing up. Just, you learn where the garment district is, where the jewelry district is, where the fur district is, if you were like me,
Yeah. Because I imagine some kids grew up in a vacuum where they went to school every day and they went home, they did their homework.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And they may not have learned
that's true.
how to go down and do those simple tasks.
That is true, to be honest.
Something led you from Harlem to Virginia Beach. I can't even imagine. Did you know the Teddy Riley story? What year did you move to Virginia Beach?
89, I'm pretty sure.
89, so I think that might have been...
Before we go there.
Yeah.
I moved to Chicago for a minute because I got caught smoking weed in school at around 15.
Okay.
And 2 days later, we moved to Chicago.
Wow.
Because I got caught smoking weed in school. I was a basketball prodigy.
Okay.
I was very good. And I got home, and my mother stripped me down 6'3" to my underwear and checked my whole body for needle marks.
Oh, wow.
Because it was real.
So
and
at that time...
And she was right.
And that time, was the heroin...
Everywhere.
Wow.
Heroin was everywhere.
Wow. So this is with the 70s?
74, 75, 76. Heroin was everywhere. And she was right. Not that I was using heroin, but she was right to check me because she didn't know me.
Your mom didn't know you?
She didn't know me no more.
Wow. So what was the disconnect? The kid that used to work in the salon?
Because she's busy doing what she do. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty smart and independent young guy.
Yeah.
I'm running doing what I do, and a lot of what is abnormal to most people in normal life is normal when you grow up in that world.
Okay.
I wasn't going to do no heroin.
Right.
Because I was a kid and I'm looking at a dope fiend, I'm like, I ain't never doing that.
Right.
But that wasn't unusual. to see dope fiends and heroin addicts all over the place and know people that are dealing, and that was very, very incredibly normal. I've told my partner now, who has a house on the beach, it was just as normal as you having sand in your house. Your house is on the beach, there's gonna be some sand in your house.
Right.
That's how normal heroin and drug addicts were where I grew up.
So, like, you didn't get involved in that, but you did get caught smoking weed. You moved to Chicago.
In school.
You were literally in school while you were smoking?
Yes.
Okay, you went hard.
Yeah. The whole room was smoking weed, though. I was just by the door, and the police reached in and grabbed me, and the dean that they took me to happened to also be the coach.
So usually they give preferential treatment to someone that's a prodigy.
Yeah, I know. He walked straight by and said, "First, you're off the team." And I don't even know if that would have worked its way out in the next week or two, because 2 days later, we moved to Chicago.
Wow.
And I was, I'm 15. I'm just becoming cool. You know what I'm saying? To all of the older dudes around. I'm just now stopped getting chased and getting my ass whooped and all of this. You know, I'm just becoming kind of cool. I'm in high school. They're leaving me alone. I'm on the court. They're proud of me being on the court. And we moving to Chicago to some place where I don't know nobody. But I remember very clearly during the road trip to Chicago saying to myself, "Oh, okay, you get to be you again." Because I wasn't me anymore. I was what the neighborhood and the friends and everything kind of said I'm supposed to be. So one day I said, "Hey, I should learn how to do t-shirts." Back then, before crack and all that shit. And I said, I should learn how to do t-shirts. And I went upstairs in the building. There was other artists up there, and asked this guy who was like a teacher or whatever. He told me, "Oh, you mean screen print? Well, this is how you do this is how you do that." Coming back from my mother's shop where I know where to go get things and I know how to move, so I wrote down everything I needed. Then I went downstairs, happened to have a few dollars, went and got everything that I needed.
I set up shop.
And came back to my loft, which is 2,500 square feet and sat there, looking at the newspaper, smoking weed, and said, "Oh, Jones Jett and the Blackhawks and Sting, the Police, are gonna be at Shea Stadium tonight. I'm gonna go do some t-shirts and go out there and sell them." And long story short, I sold $850 worth of shirts that day. I just learned that morning. Right then, I was like,
Just that deal.
"Oh,
Yeah.
I could do this."
It's a new style.
And quite frankly, I pretty much stopped painting immediately, which says my heart wasn't into being some artist. I immediately started doing t-shirts and selling them in the streets in New York. And it was, we used to have hip hop shirts. We used to have Dance New York. We had all sorts of shirts that spoke to the hip hop culture that had just
started emerging.
Yeah. And I had them on the street, and I had my wife and her sister, who were both very, very attractive, and the other people around me. And I had a boom box. Everyone else is out there on some hippie shit.
Right.
Selling bracelets, earrings.
It's the 70s, right? Yeah.
I come out, it's the 80s now.
Okay.
I came out there with the ruckus. I'm coming out here to make money. I got girls, I got music, I got lights. I came out and I used to get, they liked it being all quiet and they were very hippie, the people who were other vendors. I was like, yo, I'm here to crush y'all. Whatever y'all are doing, wonderful.
You've always been super competitive when it comes to business and just also instinctive. Like you knew how to tap into the pulse of what was happening.
I think sports gave me some competitive edge. Me and Ron, when we were first, he played ball too, and I remember distinctively when Ron said, "Yo, I want to dominate DC. And they had brands. They had Madness Shop, which the guy, his name was Eddie Van. You had Moco. You had
Sport.
DDTP.
For sure.
You had several. You had Squares. I mean, they had all of these.
Because Moco and DDP was making its way down here.
Oh, yeah. Well, Moco became a brand for a minute, you know? And I was amazed. When I got to DC and saw, I was like, this is crazy. But the thing is, and this is a great little part of when Ron said, yo, I want to dominate DC. We was in the car. And I said, man, if I can't dominate DC, my whole plan don't mean nothing. So you should consider that done already. And at that time, we was driving in our little van. But I was like, if I can't dominate these cats, then my plan is not real, you know? So because at that time, this is after running the store. So I've seen the infancy of the urban market.
Yep.
So I'm in the store drawing, doing my little designs. This is before Ron walked in. And I'm competing in this store with this dude who I never met at the time named Mark Echo.
Get out of here.
You know, so in my mind, I'm like, yo.
This is in Harlem?
No.
Or this is in Virginia Beach?
In Norfolk.
Norfolk, okay.
Yeah.
So Mark Echo was in Norfolk?
Mark Echo was, he already had his shirts going out and stuff like that to stores.
Yeah.
You know, this is Fat Farm. In the store, we had Fat Farm. I wrote one of Maurice Malone's first orders from his first show. We had Ava Rex, Pelly Pelly. Our store was the store. You know, we had Sergio Tuccini.
Oh my God.
We had all of this. We had Parasuco. Matter of fact, when I did Azure, we hired the guy who was the assistant rep from Parasuco. His name is, shout out, Ruben Campos. And we started Azure Denim.
So you got major connections within the industry. Like, so you and Ron Perry, you're now in Virginia Beach, you and Ron Perry hook up, and at some point you part ways.
Yes.
And you meet your current partners.
Well, we were all partners.
So at some point
Ron got bought out early.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, what made you stay? Why?
I knew that I needed the partners I had. We were doing very well, and we were going to be great.
Why did RP55 stop? What do you think was the...
Well, my company is RP55 now.
No, I mean the brand of fashion.
It lived its lifespan for what it was at the time, you know. And you got to remember, I'm learning all of this as it happens. So all my mistakes were made
with RP.
With RP55.
Gotcha.
You know, my first denim came, and I literally was almost in tears in the warehouse because it sucked so bad, you know. And then I realized, oh, you just can't order some jeans. You got to go figure out how to make jeans, which is very difficult, very, very difficult. You know, leather is its own thing. Denim is its own thing. Fur is its own thing. These things are master classes, you know. As far as plaid, there are people that's all they do every day, all day long, is make plaids, you know. So a lot of times when I talk to someone and they have t-shirts sitting there and they want to make all these clothes, I kind of go, that's cool. I know just how far
they have to go.
They have to go.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they say it, which, you know, maybe I sounded the same way, as if, yeah, I can do that. I can do this. And the part that I'm not trying to stop them from going to do that and do this, we were doing a couple of $1 million a year in t-shirts and a hoodie before we went to go try and make jeans.
Yeah.
And my point is, a lot of the young people that I see today, or young in business, they want to make 10 t-shirts, now I want to make jeans. Now I want to make jackets. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. My path, I was doing a couple of $2, $3, $4 million in t-shirts alone before I made a jean. My t-shirt business was so strong that there was no time to go messing around trying to make all this other stuff. I was busy. It was really real business, not any made up, ooh, this is cool.
So, and because you were making that much revenue, I assume there was a healthy profit margin in t-shirts.
Oh yeah. Well, that gets back to the partners. You know, we did okay, and I grew up with my business background with my mother's shop and all of that, but I didn't go to school for business. I'm from Dykeman Projects, you know. I graduated high school and all of that, that's cool, but my partner has an MBA from UVA. And his partner, my partners today, we've been partners for all time now, 25 years or something. Comes from the business industry. They had the money, they had the infrastructure, they had the knowledge, you know. Then the rest we learned together in the last 25 years.
So talk about some of the things you all do for
which allowed me to just go do the design part.
So they freed you up they freed you up to like do what you do well, and everybody kind of does what they do well.
Correct. They was happy as hell to be in the warehouse, packing boxes, going to the banks and dealing with all of that. You know, I mean, our company was small, and even though we were doing, you know,
pretty good
several
numbers.
$1 million a year,
Yeah.
but it wasn't what it is today.
So, segue into what it is today. Like, what are some of the business lines you're in today, and how'd you get in them?
We did RP55, then we did Azure, then we did Indigo Red, then we did Schmack, we did, I'm forgetting the pill jeans. But now we're in this big building. We have a fairly large building, and we started doing distribution.
Okay.
So I'd be remiss not to say we had a couple of guys that we met and worked for us with Azure, and they did very, very well. And then they started a company in New York. They left us and started a company in New York. At the time it was called Museum Group, and now they're called Foundation. Shout out to Dre, Hutch, and everybody. And they, our relationship.
They're designers?
No, they're sales.
Gotcha.
I'm proud that even though they left us, our relationship was so solid, and it's still solid, that we've done things together over those years. A lot of times, just the fact that you left and people, you know, I had to learn
people move
some
on.
of those things from my partners in business. They moved on, but they didn't really move on. To this day, you know, we do things together, and they are premier in our industry in what they do in the Foundation Group. Anyway, I brought that up because then we did G-Shock, the watch company.
You have that brand?
Distribution. We used to. We don't have it anymore.
Okay.
We did headphones. We do retro super future glasses, distribution.
Those are dope, by the way.
Thank you. We do Crep, the shoe protectant. Then we do a coup with T.I., Hustle Gang with T.I., BBC Pharrell, Ice Cream Pharrell. As far as design, produce, manufacture, and distribute.
So you have the whole end-to-end, pretty much, except for this retail end.
Yeah, we don't want a retail store.
Yeah.
Not yet. We really don't want a retail store.
You have a showroom though, right?
Yes, I have a showroom in New York, and I have a showroom in LA, and I have an office in Shanghai.
I mean, that's the top tier business. Like, I think one of the awesome things about the story is that you were able to transition from the brand itself to the
next
business,
brand.
the next brand,
Well,
the next brand, the next brand, and then
correct.
the overall
To the business
as a
itself,
whole. Yeah.
which you know, again, that happened through, I mean, Dre and Hutch and those guys who were the salespeople that started Foundation, and they left us as a sales organization and opened a showroom in New York. And then we kind of were still, you know, there to support them if they found a deal that would work for us, you know. And we got this warehouse, we got this office, we got the money, we got shipping and receiving and all of that ready to happen. You go find something and we can be the engine behind it, the logistical engine to make that happen. Which for me was always like, yeah, that's cool. I want to build another brand. That's what I do. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But that's cool part became very cool because, you know, there was...
Well, you had the infrastructure behind you.
Correct.
So it makes it fun.
It was, well, for my partners, that part is very fun. My partners are shippers. I mean, we do a lot of different business things. We do real estate, stuff like that also. But they literally are shippers. I got 2 partners. One is George, one is Mike. And I've never seen any of us, we've never had an argument in 20-something years. We've never had a...
That's incredible in and of itself.
Yes. We've never had a, I'm pissed at you, I'm not talking to you for a couple days, raise your voice, ever. But I saw the 2 of them one day go at each other just a little bit over shipping. Wow. Literally, how to stack these boxes. And I was sitting there like, wow, they are serious about that shipping.
I imagine stacking those boxes the right way it cost you a lot of money.
It was George is our senior partner. Me and Mike, we're the same age, and we learned a lot of what we do together, traveling around the world and just figuring it out. But Mike and George ship, and they enjoy shipping. And we got a very big company, relatively big, and my partner Mike still goes into the warehouse and ships. And George ships a little too now, I mean every now and then too. They like to put their hands on the boxes and be in the warehouse and watch it ship.
So how do you acquire, like how do you, for the people that watch this, how do you get a brand into a store? Like how do you get your brands into a Macy's or...
I mean, that's a lot easier than people think. I believe, you know, you put together your designs and you make a line sheet. You give each one of these designs a number, a reference number, so that the person could write an order. Okay. You know, let's say you make 10 shirts and you want to sell your 10 shirts to stores. I've told this to many people. None of them ever do it. You want to take the 10 shirts and sell them to stores. You put the 10 shirts, shirt 1, shirt 2, shirt 3 to 10. Then you go to the store. You show them your 10 shirts. You tell them, I'm going to deliver your order in 30 days. And they write an order. I like number 4. I like number 7. I like number 8. I like number 9. Then you go to the next store. And then you go to the next store. So don't worry about Macy's yet. You know what I'm saying? Then you go to the next store. And then you deliver their shirts. You keystone the price. So if I sell you a shirt for $10, then you're going to sell that shirt for $20. If I sell you a shirt for $20, you're going to sell that shirt for $20, $25, something like that, right? It's usually 100%, what they call 50% markup. Hopefully those shirts sell. And then they come back and say, I want more. Now, that's how I started. That was the old days. Everybody today wants to sell on the internet. They want to sell one shirt. Remember Up Against the Wall?
I remember.
Cavalier?
Yeah.
Yeah, for back then, the goal was to get up against the wall.
Absolutely.
Cavalier, you know, and these stores. And I never sold a shirt out the trunk of the car to anyone. I give you a shirt. As a matter of fact, I used to give shirts to certain people who in the hood were the right people. For sure. Yo, boom, boom, boom. Yo, so-and-so, Ralphie, here you go. Here goes 6 shirts. Because he happened to be that dude.
Guy. Yeah.
But the goal was to sell quantity.
Yeah.
Right from the door. So we went to Cavalier back then, which was Up Against the Wall's competition.
Yeah, and Military Circle,
Yeah, they had, Cavalier was by the movie, and Up Against the Walls across from, on the main strip there. So Cavalier said, we're going to buy you. I know you're hot in the street, yada, yada, yada. And we skipped all over The Wire. That was a big part for us. The movie, the TV
series?
show. Yeah, if you go back to The Wire, I owned The Wire.
Wow.
Back then.
That was a big deal.
It was a
I got to go
big
back
deal.
and I didn't even see
Big
that.
deal.
So like, cause I know Cross Colors, like, and
That's
like Carl
before.
Kanai, yeah, they were
That's
before.
Carl Jones. It's Cross Colors.
I know Carl Kanai is actually Carl Kanai's brand, right?
Well, Carl Jones.
Did Cross
The
Colors.
way I understand the story, and I consider myself quite a bit of a historian of the revolution in men's sportswear that happened, that really has never really been covered. But
Right.
if you think about it, there used to be a brand called Nautica.
Absolutely.
It still exists, but we crushed it collectively.
Collectively.
But anyway,
yeah.
there was the United Negro, the shirts that the stuff they used to wear that was sort of cross-colory. And they used to have on Martin and on Fresh Prince and all of that. So the guy's name was Carl Jones, correct. His name was Carl Jones. He heard about a guy named Carl Kanai. Rather than compete with Carl Kanai, the way I understand the story, forgive me, Carl, if I'm wrong, they backed Carl Kanai.
Gotcha.
Rather than compete with Carl Kanai. Their backing company was a little teeny company back then called Skechers, which is now Skechers.
Get out of here.
Then came, and
This is like
chronologically,
hip-hop, fashion,
this is,
urban fashion history right now.
then came, they showed there's a door here, and once they cracked that door open, then came Fat Farm, then came Maurice Malone, then came Pure Players, and I slipped in the door, RP55. And then this brand called FUBU came and kicked the door off the hinges. And the rest is somewhat history since then.
I think product placement is a big deal. Like, I know that Carl Kanai and Cross Colors did a lot of In Living Color, right? And like FUBU got that huge Free Gap commercial from LL, right?
Yeah.
Which was historic in and of itself, right? It never been done before, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't buy that kind of access.
It was amazing.
It was amazing,
If
right?
you hear him talk about it, it was a big deal.
So it's like, was that your strategy? How did you like? You said The Wire. How did you get connected to The Wire? That was your platform.
For us, it was at that time, it was the Source magazine days. Teddy Riley is here, Timberland is here, Missy is here.
It's cracking in the
It's cracking.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. I'm getting close to Teddy. They did my very first, Blackstreet did my very first Source ad. I had to wait from 4 in the morning till 4 in the morning. And I'm like 24 hours and I'm like, yo, these guys gonna shoot or what? They was just running around. Half of them was chasing the girls. I went to Teddy, I said, look, I've been here with a photographer since yesterday morning. I hear you if we ain't gonna do it, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
And then he said, all right, and called them over. And in like 10 minutes, we did this shoot. They put it on. It wasn't the greatest, but I had Blackstreet in my first ad. And then me and Teddy became neighbors a few years later.
Wow,
that's
crazy.
We became pretty close at the time. And Teddy's always been a very good guy, actually. I could never say anything negative about Teddy Riley. He's a true talent, But at that time, Virginia Beach was cracking.
So why did like Casio come to you? What was the thing that they were
Foundation got Casio.
And what was their pain point they were having trouble with?
No. They were G-Shock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They had no trouble.
Yeah.
But there's money in the black community. There's money in our spending dollar.
For sure.
FUBU, for us, by us. There's ways to tap into that for us, by us. We may not have our original languages, but we still have our culture and our unique way that we have of communicating with each other even quite often if it's in broken English. For example, if you really study, any languages or anything like that, or talk to sociologists or whatever, a lot of what we consider broken English and the way some of us speak, and we will look at it as sounding uneducated. But the truth is, they have every right to speak that way because they're coming from a depressed and separated culture. So because of their separated culture, they have a right to have their own language. You wouldn't feel that way about somebody from Jamaica who says what they say and the way they say it, and the way they sound. That's how separate languages are created, right? So you can't expect a person to come out of the projects and speak like he came off the golf course, even though we both speak English, And
every language has informal
nuances within that language.
Right.
For example, to get back and not go too deep down that hole or whatever, I'm in a meeting one time with this marketing company that wants to do our website and all of that and yada, yada, yada. And they're telling us, that we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we can do that. But there ain't no black people nowhere here in this room, right? Y'all gonna do this, y'all gonna do that. And for me, it's like, but how can you communicate with my customer? Now, I have a great command over English. My mother was that type, And I said to him, okay, so what does trap, stack, fold mean? Those are clear words. There's no sounding crazy. Just tell me, trap, stack, fold. What's that mean to you? And they were like, I said, that's the problem. Y'all can't communicate to my customer. Back to the point though, there is money in the ability to communicate to our own people. There's an even bigger market, obviously, but there's a huge amount of money in just communicating to our own culture. And that's what hip hop is.
For sure.
That's what our end of this fashion game is. What happened was April Walker had Walker Wear. Shout out April. Even the stuff we were doing back then, it may have been not great. It may have not been perfect. It may have been a little quirky, jerky looking, but it was something about it that wasn't that. There was something about it that spoke to
our community,
us.
Yeah.
And that's why I give it to FUBU with the For Us By Us, because that was, all of us were FUBU.
Yeah.
Shout out to David John, Shark Tank. All of us were FUBU. Mecca, Aniche, RP55, Cross Colors, all of us, Fat Farm, shout out to Russell, were all FUBU, For Us By Us. And then it became, it's America, business. Next thing you know, everybody had a black dude standing in front of their booth at the show.
Yeah. So,
and some of us were better at it than others, bottom line. And then the entertainers wanted to get in. There's always been a reflection from higher tier to the streets. The streets had no choice. We gonna be fly. We're gonna figure out how to be fly.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah.
I'm checking out your sneakers, right? He has on crispy white Cons, right? I'm gonna assume if they get too dirty, they're gone. For me, if they get too dirty, they're gone. I'm never gonna wear them out, like worn out and holes in the bottom like when I was a child. As soon as they get not crispy no more, they're gone.
Yeah, that's part of the
And
culture.
that goes, and Cons are not that expensive, right? But that goes, because I wear Cons, I wear shell toes, I got on Jordans today, And the reason I got so many, because I got like 400 pairs of sneakers, is so that they stay white, right? So I can flip them around and keep them fresh. And I got other colors too, but I still have that kid in me that my sneakers got to be fresh, this got to be fresh, that got to be fresh. My wife is constantly going, who are you talking to? I'm talking to my sneakers. Just leave me alone, right?
You're the sneaker whisperer. So,
But,
that's what's
but
up.
we have to make what we have. we've always, you know,
been aspirational in that regard.
doing the best with what we got. Next thing you know, hey, we don't have musical instruments. Let's put our hands on the turntables. You know, we don't know how to sing. Oh, but I love music. I'm gonna rap. You know, that's just how it happens.
So it's in some ways it's a natural evolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and then someone who's business minded is gonna figure out, okay, how do we get paid? You know, I mean, one of the biggest shames as far as this is concerned and the culture is concerned in black business is that we don't own these hair products.
It's
crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
But shout out to Rich Dennis. I mean, like these people who have gotten in the game, Tristan Walker with Bevel, you know, people who are trying to get into different aspects of hair. But I mean, it's just at the level of even what they're doing, which is high, you know, high volume, lots of dollars. It's still peanuts compared to the real.
I don't love the fact that our women seem to be addicted to this hair thing.
Me neither.
Personally.
Yeah.
But it is a business, and it is not what's on your head, it is what's in your head.
For sure.
But we should be in control of way more than we are in that business.
Yeah, that's just a curious scenario anyway, like black women going over to India to get hair to sell to black women to put in their head. It's just like a weird concept.
It is, but you ain't gonna stop them. So
might as well just.
So we should at the least we should be owning some very large portion of that business that we don't own, and that's for me one of the pet peeves as far as this business don't even talk to no one else pretty much. This is it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
You know, even though there are white women that wear weave too, but this is it. This is our what is it they call it when you have an audience that all they see is you? Our captive. This is our captive audience. You know, and I don't know the business, but I'm pretty sure that they sell their hair to whoever wants to buy it. And the other parts are, how do you operate your business? How do you, you know, and maybe you need partners that know how to operate the other sides, the administrative sides of business. The administrative sides of business are real. You got to count the amount of time it takes to print them shirts. You got to look at how much
treatment you're using, all that stuff.
All of
that. And how many shirts you can print, and what your bills are, right?
Correct.
So, just to wrap up, man, I really appreciate you coming by. It's a great conversation. Congratulations on the transition.
Thomas.
And,
appreciate meeting you.
Yeah, definitely. And we look forward to working with you soon.
Peace.
Peace. That's it, man. That's a wrap.